Okay, so get this. We're heading to the Himalayas today, you know? Those majestic snow-capped peaks.
Yeah.
They fascinated people, explorers, storytellers,
Mm.
for centuries.
Right.
And guess what we're after? The Yetis, of course.
Of course.
Yes. Sent in so much information on this legendary creature. Articles, research, even some personal notes. I have to admit, I'm coming into this with some skepticism.
It's also, I have to say, a good amount of excitement.
Oh.
Who doesn't love a good mystery?
It's incredible how this creature, the Yeti, has managed to just stay in our minds like it has for so long. What do you think it is about this creature that keeps drawing us in?
Well, I think it's the allure of the unknown. You know, that primal part of us that just wants something beyond our everyday experience. But before we get too deep into the psychology of it all, let's start with some of the basics. A lot of people point to the photograph from 1951 taken by Eric Shipton as the starting point for modern Yeti fascination. Right. That photo of a massive footprint in the snow at the Menling Glacier. Shipton even used his ice axe for scale, which I think really added to the impact. That image spread like wildfire. And just sparked a surge of expeditions in the decades that followed.
But it's interesting, even before Shipton's photograph, there were accounts of a large, mysterious creature in the Himalayas. Our research shows mentions, going as far back as the 1800s, for example. 1932. There's an account by British naturalist Brian Hodgson. He described encountering a massive creature. And then there's the 1889 sighting by British Army physician Major L.A. Waddell, who also saw these strange footprints leading up a glacier.
It seems like those whispers and rumors started to gain momentum in the 1930s. And then kind of a funny story, the term abominable snowman was actually born from a journalist's mistranslation in 1921. Yeah, he was interviewing a climber who had returned from Mount Everest. And the local guides had described this creature as metokangmi, which means man-bear snowman. But the journalist mistakenly translated meto as filthy. And that just got completely blown up.
Right.
And became abominable.
So a case of lost in translation ended up shaping how the world perceived this creature. What's really intriguing is how the Yeti isn't just some fearsome monster in Tibetan culture. It's so deeply interwoven with their mythology and beliefs.
Exactly. The term Yeti itself originates from the Sherpa language, combining, meaning cliff-dwelling bear. And there's that. A fascinating story from the 12th century Tibetan text, the Mani Kabum, about a bodhisattva monkey. Now, a bodhisattva in Buddhism is an enlightened being who chooses to delay their own final enlightenment to help others. In this story, the bodhisattva monkey marries a rock ogress to prevent her from wreaking havoc on the world. And their offspring, according to this text, evolved into humans and, you guessed it, Yetis.
So the Yeti isn't just some isolated creature. It's actually woven into the fabric of Tibetan origin stories. Now, while the Yeti holds a special place in Tibetan culture, the Western world became completely captivated by the idea of hunting this creature. The post-World War II era saw a surge in Yeti expeditions.
That's right, fueled by Shipton's photograph. And increased access to Nepal in the post-war era, I think this period could be called the golden age of Yeti hunting, but actually revealed more about human nature than the Yeti itself. This fervent pursuit of the unknown ultimately demonstrated the human drive to just seek out mystery and adventure, but also it highlighted how important scientific rigor is when we're evaluating evidence.
And this craze reached such a fever pitch that the U.S. and Nepal governments actually had to step in and create some rules. In 1959, they even imposed a hefty royalty fee for Yeti seeking permit.
Oh my gosh. And get this. They outlawed hunting the creature unless it was in self-defense. Any Yeti that was captured was supposed to be turned over to the Nepali government. And they demanded that all findings had to be reported to them. But before being released to the press, it's almost as if they genuinely thought the Yeti could be real.
So we've got all these expeditions setting out, but three explorers in particular kind of stand out. Peter Byrne, Reinhold Messner, and Daniel C. Taylor. Let's start with Peter Byrne. He went to some pretty extreme lengths to find evidence of the Yeti, right?
Yeah, he was on 5 different expeditions. He spent over 3 years searching the Himalayas. He even went to the Pangboche Monastery, which was rumored to have Yeti remains, including a skull in hand. And this is where it gets really interesting. Byrne actually smuggled a Yeti finger out of the monastery.
Wow.
Legend has it he got help from none other than the actor, James Stewart.
Talk about story for the ages. So did they ever figure out what that finger actually was?
Well, analysis revealed that the finger belonged to a human.
Okay, so not exactly the breakthrough that Byrne was hoping for. Okay, what about Reinhold Messner? Now he's considered a legend in the mountaineering world.
He is. And initially, he dismissed the Yeti as complete nonsense. But in 1986, he had a personal encounter that completely changed his perspective. He described seeing a large, dark creature walking upright and moving with incredible agility in the Himalayas. This encounter sparked a 12-year obsession for Messner. He dove deep into Yeti research, ultimately concluding that it wasn't some mythical ape-man, but more likely a Himalayan brown bear.
So he went from skeptic to believer, and eventually to a more grounded scientific explanation. Interesting. So what about Daniel C. Taylor? What was his experience?
Well, Taylor focused his research on Nepal's Barun Valley, which is a very remote and densely forested area. He did discover some footprints and hair samples that initially seemed promising, but DNA analysis revealed that they belonged to a rare type of tree bear. He even debunked Shipton's famous photograph, suggesting that the unique gait and paw structure of bears could easily explain those, seemingly human-like tracks.
Okay, so we have 3 renowned explorers, each venturing into the Himalayas in search of the Yeti. One smuggles a Yeti finger that turns out to be human. Another has a life-altering encounter, but concludes it was just a bear. And the third finds evidence of a rare tree bear. Are we seeing a pattern here?
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot of these Yeti sightings could potentially be explained by known animals.
I think so. And their experiences really underscore the complexities involved. In Yeti research, you have these firsthand accounts, sometimes intriguing evidence, and then the weight of these local legends also comes into play. It's easy to see why this mystery has persisted for so long.
But, even with those compelling explanations, there's still a part of us that wants to believe.
Yeah, it's a question that continues to fascinate us, and I think science has attempted to answer it through rigorous analysis and DNA testing. Let's dive into that world next.
So we talked about these expeditions and explorers, but science has also tried to understand this Yeti mystery. There was that study in 2014 at Oxford University. They analyzed supposed Yeti hair samples.
Yeah, that study was led by geneticist Brian Sykes. He analyzed over 30 hair samples collected from the Himalayas, all thought to be from Yetis, and the initial results were pretty exciting. Because while most of the samples turned out to be from known animals, like horses and bears, there were 2 samples that they could identify. However, further analysis revealed that even 2 mysterious samples were actually a rare subspecies of Himalayan brown bear. It turned out to be a simple error in the initial analysis.
So even the most promising scientific lead ended up pointing back to a known animal. Kind of a letdown. But
it's interesting how science keeps refining our understanding.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only study. In 2017, researchers at New York University examined 9 alleged Yeti samples. These included bones, teeth, and hair. And guess what? 8 of those samples were from different bear species, and the 9th one was from a dog.
A dog?
Really? That's kind of funny. Shows how important it is to have rigorous testing and how easy it can be to misinterpret evidence, even when it seems compelling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really underscores the need for careful analysis and just the potential for human error, even in scientific investigations.
Speaking of misinterpretations, you sent in that case about the worker who was found dead in Arunachal Pradesh in 2008.
Right.
That was what really kind of sparked my interest in this whole Yeti thing. There was that mysterious hair that was found on the body. People suspected a Yeti attack. What did your research turn up about that incident?
Yes. That case was investigated by BBC journalists Andrew Benfield and Richard Horsey, and they found some interesting discrepancies in the reports. For one, the police report made no mention of a Yeti or any unusual footprints at the scene.
Where did that whole Yeti angle come from? Was it just sensationalized reporting?
It seems that way. The journalists actually tracked down the doctor who analyzed the hair and discovered that it wasn't hair at all. It was a piece of plant material.
Oh, wow. So no Yeti attack. No mysterious creature. Just a tragic death, shrouded in rumors and speculation.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder of just how quickly rumors and assumptions can take on a life of their own. Especially when we're dealing with something as captivating and shrouded in mystery as the Yeti.
It seems like that human desire for the extraordinary can lead us to jump to conclusions, even when simpler explanations are right there in front of us.
Yeah, it's a fascinating aspect of human psychology. But before we go down that rabbit hole, there's another point I think is worth considering. If the Yetis were real, wouldn't we have more
concrete evidence by now?
Especially.
Which is the prevalence of smartphones and cameras. That's a great point. It's not like the Himalayas are completely unexplored. We've got climbers, trekkers, researchers, locals constantly going through those mountains. Someone would have snapped a clear photo or video.
Of the Yetis, though. Right, blurry footprints. And anecdotal accounts from decades past are one thing. But in our age. In our age of Bierek, instant global communication, it seems almost impossible for a creature of that size, and notoriety to remain completely hidden from view. It really makes you wonder if the Yeti is more of a figment of our collective imagination.
It's definitely a possibility that we can't ignore. But even if that's the case, it doesn't take away from the cultural significance and the enduring allure of the Yeti myth. The fact that
it's a creature
has captivated us. Whether real or not, tells us something really profound about our relationship with the unknown and our need to believe in something beyond the ordinary.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to consider the Yeti in the context of bigger legendary creatures around the world, like Bigfoot in North America or Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. There seems to be this universal human fascination with hidden creatures lurking just beyond our grasp.
I think you're right. It speaks to our need for mystery and wonder. The possibility that there are some things out there
that we haven't discovered. Exactly. The Yeti embodies that perfectly. It represents those wild, untamed aspects of nature, a creature untouched by human civilization, just existing on its own terms. In a way, it symbolizes the parts of ourselves that we long for: freedom, strength, a connection to the primal.
You know, when you put it that way, it's almost as if the Yeti is this blank canvas that we can project our own hopes and fears onto.
Exactly. It's that duality, I think, that makes it so enduring. It can be both frightening and alluring, reminding us of the power and mystery that still exists in our world.
Well, let's be honest. There's a certain romanticism to the idea of venturing into the unknown, braving these harsh elements to catch a glimpse of something extraordinary. It's no wonder that Yeti expeditions have attracted so many.
Explorers, adventurers, and even celebrities over the decades.
That's the ultimate adventure, right? A quest for a creature that may or may not exist, driven by curiosity, ambition, and maybe even a touch of ego. It's a story.
And a sense of exploration and the thrill of discovery.
But the people who live in the Himalayas, for them, the Yeti isn't just a legend or cryptid. It's part of their cultural heritage.
Absolutely. For the Sherpa people, for instance, the Yeti is very deeply ingrained in their folklore and belief system.
It's not simply a creature to be feared. It's part of the landscape. It's a force of nature that demands respect.
And caution. And we even have accounts of Yeti parts being used in religious, magical rituals.
I was reading this book, Himalayan Anthropology, and they mentioned the use of supposed Yeti scalp in a specific ritual. It's like, the Yeti cat sands, pure myth, enters this realm.
Spiritual practice and belief.
That's a crucial point. It highlights how important it is
to consider
the cultural context.
Yes,
when approaching these kinds of mysteries, what might seem like a fantastical creature to outsiders
can hold deep spiritual significance for the people who live inside.
We're going to find definitive proof. I have definitive proof of the Yeti's existence, the impact on culture, and just our understanding of the human relationship with the unknown is undeniable.
I completely agree. But this brings up a thought-provoking question. If the Yeti is a product of our imagination, what does that say about our need to believe in something bigger than ourselves?
That is a great question. It makes you wonder if, in a world that often feels increasingly mundane and predictable, and the Yeti serves as a kind of placeholder for the awe and wonder that we crave.
It's our way of filling the gaps in our knowledge. It's embracing the possibility there are still mysteries to be solved and forces that we can't even comprehend.
It's almost like the Yeti represents the power of myth and storytelling. Even if the creature itself isn't real, the stories we tell reveal something fundamental. Our hopes, our fears, and our desire for connection with something beyond the everyday.
Beautifully put. And let's not forget, the Himalayas themselves are a source of incredible wonder and biodiversity, even without the Yeti.
We've got snow leopards, red pandas, musk deer, monkey, just countless other fascinating creatures
that are very much real and in need of our attention and protection.
You're so right. It's so easy to get caught up in the allure of the mythical.
I like it.
The real-world wonders are right there in front of us. Did you know that scientists estimate we've only documented about 10 to 20% of all the species on Earth?
Wow.
That's incredible.
It's mind-boggling. There could be millions of major undiscovered species out there, from microscopic organisms to large mammals. We're still discovering new creatures all the time, and that's something to celebrate.
Absolutely. Like that adorable Popolangua, the monkey with glasses. It was just discovered a few years ago in Myanmar. And then there are, those legless skinks in Angola that look just like snakes. But they have eyelids that blink. And remember, the glowing mystery mollusk found at Gatus, the ocean's midnight zone. Talk about a creature straight out of science fiction.
Discoveries are truly remarkable and remind us that the natural world is still full of surprises. We don't need to invent fantastical creatures when reality itself is so awe-inspiring.
You're right. But there is one creature we have to mention when I'm talking about Yeti-like creatures. That's Adiardale.
Gigantopithecus. Ugh, yes, that extinct ape that stood nearly 10 feet tall in Rome's Southeast Asia, somewhere
between 2 million and 200,000 years ago. It's a pretty compelling candidate for the inspiration.
Behind some Yeti legends.
Right, the descriptions are strikingly similar. A massive ape-like creature inhabiting mountainous regions. Could it be that ancient encounters with Clitians, Gigantopithecus, passed down through generations, somehow morphed into the Yeti myth we know today?
It's an intriguing possibility, and some researchers believe that's exactly what happened. Imagine our ancestors encountering this colossal ape in the dense forests or Romulus slopes, Sapar Tomagay, or Furnia sands. Our Furnia, such an encounter would almost certainly be passed down, potentially evolving and becoming embellished over
time. It's like in a prehistoric game of telephone. A quick glimpse of this giant ape turns into a whispered legend, and that eventually solidifies into the you-get-know-it. It reminds us that even our wildest imaginings can be rooted in real-world experiences, no matter how distorted or exaggerated.
Right. And it speaks to the power of storytelling and how
our interpretation, the natural world, can shape our understanding and our place in the universe. So are you starting to understand why we're so fascinated by this topic?
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe someday a clear photo will surface that provides undeniable proof of the Yeti's existence. But until then, there's a whole world of real-life wonders out there waiting to be discovered, each one more fascinating than the last.
Even with all the evidence pointing toward bears and other known animals, there's still a part of me that wants to believe a little bit.
I understand that. It's hard to completely let go of that sense of wonder and possibility. What if there is something out there that we just haven't discovered? What if the Yetis is a real undiscovered species that's just managed to elude us for centuries?
Wouldn't that be amazing? It reminds us that our knowledge of the natural world is always evolving. We can't dismiss something just because we haven't found that concrete evidence. Think about the okapi. It looks like a cross between a zebra and a giraffe, but it wasn't discovered until the early 20th century. Or the coelacanth, the prehistoric fish, thought to be extinct until it was rediscovered in 1938. There are still so many mysteries out there.
That's a great point. And even if the Yeti turns out to be a myth, the pursuit of it has led to some incredible real-world discoveries. Think of all those explorers, scientists, and researchers venturing into the Himalayas, driven by that desire to solve this mystery. Their efforts have significantly expanded our understanding of that region's geography, ecology, and even culture.
It's not the journey, isn't it?
It is.
The search for the Yeti, even if ultimately fruitless, has enriched our knowledge and appreciation for the natural world in countless ways. Your research actually showed that this whole thing has also sparked conversations about conservation.
It has. We're talking about the importance of respecting local cultures and beliefs and the delicate balance between scientific inquiry and the preservation of mystery. There's just so much to consider.
The Himalayas are home to countless endangered species and face threats from climate change and habitat loss. It's such a fragile ecosystem. Maybe
the Yeti myth has helped to raise awareness about these issues.
It's a valid point. Sometimes our fascination with the fantastical kind of real-world implications, it gets people thinking and talking about important things.
So, what does the future hold for the Yeti? Will we ever find that definitive proof that settles this debate once and for all? Or will it remain this elusive enigma, inspiring wonder and speculation for generations to come?
Well, only time will tell. But the beauty of the Yeti myth lies in its ability to spark our imaginations and just encourage us to question the world around us, whether it's a real creature, a misinterpretation of natural phenomena, or as a symbol of something deeper. The Yeti continues
to captivate and intrigue us. It makes us think who we are. That place.
Even if they do, we never find that elusive creature. I think that's okay. The search itself, the pursuit of the unknown, is a fundamental part of what makes us human. It's that same drive
that led us
to explore new continents, invent incredible technologies, push the boundaries of human understanding.
Beautifully said. The Yeti is a reminder that there's still so much we don't know. The world is full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled.
So what about you listening right now? Have we convinced you that the Yeti is more than a mythical monster? Has this deep dive sparked a newfound appreciation for the real-world wonders that inspired this enduring legend? Or the enduring legend? Or are you still hoping for that definitive proof? You know, that one blurry photo that changes everything. Whatever your perspective is, you worked for this journey into the world. The Yeti has given you something to ponder, a renewed sense of wonder about the world around us, and maybe even a little bit. How have an expansive born of a childlike excitement about the unknown.
And remember, next time you find yourself gazing up at a starry sky.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.